to Mr. Manjang. Okay, questions first. So now we will allow questions from journalists. Yeah, please. Probably we will have first set of questions, then you have another set. Maybe we will allow maybe 3 or 4 people to ask first, then we have another batch of questions. You raise your hand and then tell us your name and the question, please. Yeah. Okay.
My name is Becky Ture from the Point. My question goes to Mr. Carl. As a legally minded person, what is your take on members standing on the ground that the contradiction arises primarily from the interpretation of Section 2, which require voters to be registered in their constituency of residence, which they say effectively exclude the diaspora?
All right. Thank you. Maybe Mr. Tal will take note. Mr. Tal, take note. Can we have another one, please? Any other one? Okay. Then we allow Mr. Tal. Okay. Edward Francis.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Edward Francis. Yeah, in the position paper, it is highlighted that the National Assembly members should use their standing order to reintroduce the clause, but the standing order is not mentioned. So can you understand?
Okay, mentioning the standing order. Okay.
The assembly visiting constituencies. Yeah, so sure they are not registered. That they are not registered. So justification and nationals.
So maybe I will first
Maria,
jump in
you go ahead,
and
yeah.
answer the question from the Askalwi. So I believe it's Standing Order 74, right? At consideration stage, the National Assembly, after debating a particular clause, right, which they either amend or delete, they could actually raise the motion under that particular standing order to bring back that clause, right? This was also something that was done with the anti-corruption bill. If you will remember, there was a particular clause where the Anti-Corruption Commission was mandated to seek the mandate or the approval of the Attorney General before proceeding with legal prosecution of those that are found wanting of corruption. And the minority leader of the National Assembly raised that motion under that section, Standing Order 74, to bring back that clause. So it was brought back. That was the reason why the anti-corruption bill was also deferred from September to December, because the time was not sufficient for them to debate it. So it was done and they reviewed it, but still Parliament maintained their position. So they could actually do the same thing with this clause. Not that the fact that it's deleted, they cannot bring it back. It's actually possible, and it's in line with the parliamentary procedures.
All right. Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Khan.
Yes, so can you repeat the question again?
I say, what is your take on National Assembly members? Some, I would say, standing on the ground on Section 8, which they believe exclude the diaspora, since they are not registered on the National Assembly as a
Yeah. So the constituencies.
Yes, so I think our position is that the diaspora does not need to be registered as a separate constituency. Because if you look at the qualification, it looks at where you were born. So every Gambian is born in the constituency or where you reside.
Yeah.
So if you are born, let's say, I from Senegal, Banjul, I register in Banjul North, and I travel to England, right? I mean, for the purpose of registration, IEC will register me as somebody, as a constituent of Banjul North. That would deal with that issue. So I don't think it's a real problem. I think the problem that can be easily dealt with by just registering everybody in either because you don't reside in the Gambia, so your qualification will not be tied to your residency.
Yeah.
But your birth. Where were you born? You were born in every Gambian is either born in a constituency or reside in a constituency. And in the case of those outside, you look at where they were born, where they registered. So you register where they were born. I think that in simple terms will solve the problem.
And I think, in addition to that, the confusion here is Section 88 is talking about the composition of constituency in the National Assembly. It says that the National Assembly shall comprise of 53. It used to be 48 until it was amended in 2015 to 53
at least
constituencies. Right? So it is talking about the National Assembly. Yes, I see registered voters under the existing constituencies as well. However, we need to also understand that presidential election, the country is treated as one constituency. We all vote towards the national office, that is the office of the president. The same thing with referendum. If we want a diaspora constituency where we will have the diaspora representing the diasporians, then the amendment of Section 88 will be required.
Yes.
To create a diaspora constituency to represent them.
Yes.
And that will mean for right now, what is possible is diaspora can vote in presidential elections under our existing electoral and constitution framework. They can vote in presidential election and referendum. Where they cannot vote right now is parliamentary elections, councillorship election, and mayoral election, because that will require demarcating a constituency for the diaspora. So 2026, the diaspora should be able to vote. Now, removing it, as Council Star stated, they are going to make the matter worse than the current existing Jamaican constitution that he mentioned, which accommodates diaspora. So it is to make it better, but not to make it worse.
Thank you. I think it's very clear.
Is it clear to you?
Yeah, it's very clear, obviously, that the diaspora can vote. There is no controversy over it. Yes. Anyone?
Well, I just would like to know, for example, what next? Because we know that on the 25th is when parliamentarians will probably be looking at the election. Is there any other way that they are going to be able to engage these parliamentarians so that they do the needful? Next. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. Lisa Taylor for us.
So the next step is to disseminate this, engage parliamentarians virtually. That's what we can do right now, because they're already in session. We cannot convene them and have a conversation on this, but we're going to be sending this to parliamentarians. Obviously, we're also going to put it on our websites, share the link with them. But at the same time as well, we will have the FAQ ready, right, for parliamentarians as well.
Yeah, I would also like to add to that. I think, as you rightly said, on the 25th they will resume consideration of the bill. I think they are now in clause 18, so they've gone past 14. I think it will take a series of sessions to really finalize this bill. So there's still a window within which Parliament have the power and right understanding order to bring it back. So I think our advocacy is ongoing. So we will, of course, send these documents to the parliamentarians. And further, we recognize that the Parliament, have the power to make laws, and we're not in any way challenging the power to make laws. But they must also make laws in line with the limits set by the Constitution. And also, they must make laws which we believe is in the interest of the population. And in a democracy, we don't always agree. So we think that our advocacy is to help to assist parliamentarians to make a better informed decision about this clause. We think that from our initial consultation and from what we see in the media, some of them have spoken to the media, the explanations they've given as to why they deleted this clause, I think, is based on a misunderstanding of the legal position. Because some of them said very clearly, some of the very vocal ones said very clearly that they don't want to make a law that's against the Constitution. So we want to help bring them back and say, well, in fact, deleting this clause may actually contradict the Constitution.
Yeah,
and it is by actually reinstating this clause, you are acting in line with the Constitution, because already this clause in a different form exists in the current law, and it's the same Constitution. So there cannot be any constitutional problem. In terms of the Section 88, as Mara said, that will only be applicable for amendment in the case you're talking about diaspora running for office or they want to vote in parliamentary. So for now, what is possible without any legal question or doubt is being able to vote in presidential and referendum. And that message. So we can look at it on an incremental basis. If diaspora cannot have everything, at least for now, give them what they already have. It's there already. It's theirs, and Constitution is provided for and mandated. So you cannot take a step that will now take away what they have. So I think that's what we want, and we think. We think our NAMs, any right-thinking National Assembly would respect once they really fully understand these issues. I think those who would I presume would rethink their position and then also support the reinsertion of clause 14.
And that's why we also, in our position paper, stating that the parliament should consider amending clause 14.2, especially the phrase which says, or any other elections as determined by the Constitution or any other law. Because that will also mean the rest of all the other elections. But for now, if they're able to remove that, then they will be consistent with all the legal frameworks that allow diaspora to vote in elections, especially, more specifically, the presidential and referendum, right? So that is what is possible for now.
Thank you. I think
so. My name is Nelson. I am from Korea. I think the National Assembly members, some of them don't have that legal understanding. But if it is amendments, I think we should accept. But some of them talks about the they say that it will be difficult for Gambia to provide like police stations in all other countries where Gambians. So for example, if you have one in Europe, another have to travel from other states, go and vote in the other states. That means almost in every state where Gambians are, you need a police station. That is what they say.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I have to say.
I said this yesterday, election itself is a logistical nightmare. Anywhere you go. In Nigeria, they have a voter population of how much? Is it 98 million people? We observe election in that country. It is a logistical nightmare, but it is a constitutional mandate. That's why election management bodies are established to hire competent officials to find solutions to those logistical nightmares. Right? The OIC was a logistical nightmare. But we were able to achieve that. And it was just a 2-day event. Election is just a 1-day event. As in, though there are preparation that is being done, but the election itself is done in a day. Though it requires a lot of work. So the logistical nightmare that the government was able to overcome to host the OIC, they could actually even do better. So to say it is a logistical nightmare and not doing it means you are going against the principles that are outlined in the 1997 Constitution to exercise universal adult suffrage. So there is no excuse. We might talk about other legal issues, but to say it's a logistical nightmare, I think that is a very, very, not good excuse that they should bring about.
Yeah, I would just like to chime in. Matt is I'm not an election expert. I can talk about the law. So Matt, I defer to Matt on matters of logistics and practicality of election. But I just, as a citizen, I'm speaking as a citizen, as a lawyer now. When I was listening to Professor Jibril Fal of MSDG, they have done tremendous work for many years, looking at these issues and challenges. And I think he was in a program on QTV, and he said something that really struck my mind. He reminded us, he went down memory lane. History is very important to go back to memory lane. In the Gambia, in the past, only those in the Combo St. Mary's could vote. So Gambia, as far as the British were concerned, is Banjul or Combo St. Mary's. All the Gambians don't have the right to vote. And what was the excuse? It was a logistical nightmare. So for that reason, Gambians outside couldn't vote. But the founders of this nation, some of them fought to ensure that every Gambian in every corner of this country is able to vote, no matter how difficult it is, how challenging it is. For me, I don't even call it name. I call it a challenge. I mean, Gambia, we have addressed way more difficult challenges than diaspora voting. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Are we the only country in the world, in this region, that is doing this? We can benchmark ourselves with other countries. How did Senegal do it? How's Nigeria doing it? How are other countries doing it? And have we seen any position paper from IEC saying that we've done a study of the challenges of diaspora voting, and these are our constraints? Have anybody seen anything like that?
No.
Has there been any concrete steps taken to look at the problem and see whether there's a solution? Have they reached out to others to support them in case they cannot solve it? So in my opinion, that is just not an acceptable reason to deprive Gambians of their constitutionally mandated right. Really.
Yeah.
And going back to section, that clause 14, actually, if you read it, it did also talk about hiring election officials in these areas where IEC is actually going to be conducting elections for the diaspora to vote. Right? That same clause 14 did talk about that. And IEC is actually going to be drafting rules and regulation and procedures as to how to go about it. And they could do this study by referencing to other countries that have already done, like South, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So logistical nightmare is just an excuse, but it's not something that is
And even in the Gambia, you see villages, people traveling from a village to another village to vote. It's not that every village should have a polling station. They can devise a mechanism, in the diaspora, Senegal and other places, so that they can access those polling stations. So I don't think the argument that is a logistical nightmare should be